What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we are back for another video on my channel, something I have not done yet but I'm going to do for every single team, and that is predicting their upcoming season record, player stats, how the season's going to go as a whole. So before we get into everything, be sure to leave a like and hit the subscribe button if you guys are new to my channel. I cover a bunch of football stuff, mostly Madden, but I will also do kind of more in real life stuff as with this. I'm hoping to do just one team every day, kind of as a countdown till next season starts. Not sure if it's going to be all in a row. Probably not, but I will get every team covered by the football season, by the start of next football season. I promise you that. But guys, today we will be starting in the AFC North and be doing the entire AFC, and then we will move on to the entire NFC. And first off today is the Cincinnati Bengals, the team we're going to be focusing on. They were last in their division, so I felt like we had to cover the worst and go all the way up. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that for every single division. Maybe, who knows. Anyway, though, right now we have a few things to go over here. I'm going to be going over some of the stats from this past year, and then what I think we're going to have this coming year, how certain players are going to perform, and just kind of the team as a whole. And so first off, they were 4-11-1. They were last in their division. I already said that, but yeah, 4-11-1. Pretty rough. I will say, I think some of their games were very close. I know they lost to the Chargers week 1, and I mean, if they could have just made a kick, and I think either won it or went to overtime, so they did have some close games. They did beat the Steelers, and I know everybody wanted to see that happen. So that was probably the highlight of their year. But if we move down here, they have a ton of stats, and I mean stats for everything on this. This is ProFootballReference.com. If you guys want to see, go check it out for yourself. Go to that. Do whatever you want there. Look at your teams, look at players, all that kind of stuff. But that's what I'm going to be using today. And so they have team stats and rankings, schedule and game results. They have team conversions. They have passing, rushing and receiving, kick and punt returns, kicking and punting, defense and fumbles. They have it all. We'll be going over a little bit of most. I'm not going to say everything, but most. We will start out, though, and go back up here to passing, and that's what I want to focus on first. All right, so sadly, I'm sure as most of you guys know, Joe Burrow did get hurt. He had a pretty bad knee injury. Hopefully, he'll be able to come back and be the same, if not better, than his rookie year. Up until he got hurt, he did have 2,688 passing yards along with 13 touchdowns, which is not bad at all for his rookie year, especially with the Bengals. I will say he has really good targets, but a pretty terrible offensive line, and I mean, it was going to happen at some point, him getting an injury. He also had 5 interceptions to go along with that, but I will say until he got hurt, he was having a great year, and I really feel like he probably would have won Rookie of the Year over Justin Herbert had he stayed healthy. But they got to give an offensive line, and they didn't really do that. They got, I think, 2 others in the draft. They didn't get Sewell. Comment down below if you guys thought the Bengals should have went with Jamar Chase or Penny Sewell. I know it's pretty split on that. But anyway, as far as Joe Burrow is concerned, I think he had a great year, and I hope next year he can come back and bounce back all the same. There is Ryan Finley, the GOAT, who did lead the win over the Steelers in primetime football, so I feel like I'm not even going to cover him because his season as a whole is a W just for that one win. So that's for Burrow. We get into rushing and receiving. This sort of things get really, really interesting. If you wanted to go over just to yards, I don't think they had a single player over 1,000 yards rushing or receiving, and that is not good. I feel like you need at least somebody on your offense to get to 1,000 yards. They did have T. Higgins get 936, and that is close as anyone came to getting 1,000 yards, which is interesting because he was a rookie, and I feel like Tyler Boyd, I think, was maybe injured for one game. Yeah, he was injured for one game. He played 15 to 16. So had he maybe played that other game, it would have been pretty even as far as with T. Higgins. But that is still a good sign for Burrow. He's got some targets, especially a young T. Higgins already performing, almost had a 1,000-yard season. But I think the team as a whole, I think they needed some guys to step up that really didn't. I think Boyd should have had 1,000 yards regardless. A.J. Green only had 523, but again, he's what, I think it says, 32 years old. He's getting up there. They got rid of him anyway, so I feel like he should have had a better year, but at the same time, he's just not in his prime anymore. So it's a really good sign from T. Higgins getting that 936. Tyler Boyd, I think, is very, very underrated in general. I mean, he is just a great receiver in the NFL, and he had 890, so that's not bad at all. Because as for rushing is concerned, Bernard had 771, and Mixon had 566. That's pretty even between the two, but you got to think, Bernard played 10 more games than Mixon did, and he only had about a little over 200 yards more. That's pretty crazy. So I think if they have a healthy Mixon, that's going to be well over 1,000 yards as long as he keeps it up. He's good after the catch as well. He can catch out the backfield. He's fast. I think Bernard's gone anyway. I'm not sure where he went, but I don't think he's on the Bengals anymore. They do have Pirine, who did do pretty well, 367 yards from scrimmage. Not bad at all, because he's going to be their new, I think, backup running back now that Bernard is gone. So I'm hoping Mixon can come back and have a really, really good season for the Bengals. If you go down here to C.J. Uzomah, he was having a pretty good year, but he only played, I think, 2 games before he got injured. So he could have done a lot better. He was having a pretty good first couple weeks, a very solid target for Joe Burrow. Sadly, tore his Achilles. He will be back, and hopefully he will be able to kind of, come back a little bit there and have a good year. Auden Tate as well. He only had 150 receiving yards, but I feel like he's only 23. He has room to kind of grow and improve, and I do think he's pretty underrated. That's fine. I'm not worried about that as far as the I guess I'm not worried for the Bengals as far as that goes. The offensive line is just a huge problem. But to move away from the offense and we come to the defense, I think arguably the biggest Pro Bowl snub was Jesse Bates III. He is very, very underrated. I know a lot of you out there might not get a lot of Bengals games or just even want to watch Bengals games in general, but this dude can play. He's only 23 years old. He played all of the games. He had 109 combined tackles, 78 on his own. He had 2 tackles for loss. He had a 1 QB hit. I mean, he had a very, very good year. He had 3 interceptions as well. I think he's very good. I think he is by far the most underrated player. As far as defense goes in the NFL, he's definitely probably top 5. On the Bengals, he's the leader of this defense, and I hope he can keep having a good year for them because they're going to need it. They did draft a few defensive players that were very highly rated. They did draft Joseph Osai from Texas, and he's supposed to be very, very good. So I think he's going to be a huge addition to that defensive line so they can get some more pressure. I believe they got rid of Carl Lawson. I'm not for sure on that, but I'm pretty sure he's gone. Von Bell, I'm not sure if he's there or not either. I'm really not familiar as far as that goes with the defense and who they let go and who they didn't. But as far as their defense goes, Jesse Bates just has to continue to be the leader for this team. They have a pretty young defense. They do have William Jackson III, who is gone. I know that for a fact. Mackenzie Alexander and Darius Phillips. So corners are looking a little shaky. They did pick up Mike Hilton from the Steelers and Chidobe Awuzie, something like that. I don't know how you say it. I'm really sorry, but he's from the Cowboys. So they did get some good corners as far as that goes with experience, and that is going to be, I think, the difference. Darius Phillips should still be there, so I would say their corners would be Phillips, Hilton, and Awuzie. Not really sure, but I'm pretty sure that's how that would work out. So their defense, I think, is young and has a lot of room for improvement. The only problem is just, will they improve this next year? Because I'm predicting this year. I'm not predicting 5 years down the road. I'm predicting for this next year. And so I did lightly go over every single part of the team. So I'm now going to predict more of these specific stats, and then I'll give you guys a final record of what I think the Cincinnati Bengals will finish with in 2021 to 2022. As for Joe Burrow, this guy had 2,688 passing yards in the 10 games he played, with 13 touchdowns and only 5 interceptions. Had he have not gotten hurt, I think he would have done well. I mean, way better, obviously. It's going to be hard to predict this because of his injury. You have guys that come back and do way better than before, and you have guys that come back and they're just never the same. Hopefully, it is not the second option. But as for Joe Burrow, I can see him getting around 3,500 passing yards next year. And whether you think that that's a little high or a little low, that's pretty similar to what Baker Mayfield had last year, and he nearly went to the Super Bowl. So I know they have a great running game. There's other reasons for that. But I'm just saying I do think Burrow can probably reach that mark. Had he have played 6 more games, I could see him getting probably around 20 touchdowns, something like that. I could definitely see him throwing about 3 or 4 more interceptions. So maybe 20, 21, and 9, 20, 21, and 8, something like that. I do think he'll have a great year. I hope he comes back from injury, because you never want to see anybody have their career ruined, especially after their first year due to an injury. So that's what I think for Burrow, probably something around there. And then for Joe Mixon, like I said, he had 566 rushing yards in only 6 games. I could see him getting probably 1,300 after 16. Around the 1,300 mark last year, I believe he would have been in the top 3 behind, I think, Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook. And near Jonathan Taylor, I think maybe a little bit ahead of Jonathan Taylor. So I think Mixon, as long as he can stay healthy, he could come back and have a really, really good year for this team. He did only have 3 touchdowns and 1 fumble. I think if he plays 10 more games, I could see him getting probably double that amount of touchdowns, maybe a little bit more. Hopefully not too many more fumbles, but obviously he's a running back, so maybe 1 more, maybe 2. Unless you're Ezekiel Elliott, maybe you get 5 more. And as for a leading receiver, I think Higgins will be the leading receiver, and I think Boyd will probably be second, but I do see Jamar Chase having a pretty big breakout year for the Bengals. So I can see Higgins getting around 1,100. I can see Boyd getting probably just around 1,000, maybe a little bit less. And I can see Jamar Chase going for around 700, I think, and probably a couple touchdowns in there. Not sure how much they're going to really use him as far as targeting the end zone, but I do think he's quick. He has great hands. He'll definitely be catching kind of short passes, screens, stuff like that. And as for Jesse Bates, that's the only person on defense I'm going to be predicting because I think he's just the biggest guy they have in defense at this point. He's got to kind of carry this team, or at least lead the defense and show kind of that intensity and what he has to bring. He had 109 combined tackles with 78 on his own with 3 interceptions. I'm going to say he gets 5 next year. Might be a little bit, a little bit of a reach, but I mean, this guy's going to be put on the map pretty soon. People are going to see him way more as an underrated safety. I can see him, I would hope he makes a Pro Bowl next year. He should have this past year. I would say probably about the same combined tackles as far as solos as well. I would probably say maybe around 120 combined and then 85 solo, something around there. That's what I would guess for Jesse Bates. But guys, the Cincinnati Bengals as a whole, I think they have a pretty bright future ahead of them. I think one of the biggest things is going to be the offensive line and injuries for the entire team. As long as they can avoid that and and kind of strengthen their offensive line, they are a playoff team within the next 2 to 3 years, I would say. Maybe 4, but that's not what I'm doing today. I'm predicting for this next year, so I would say a little below 500. I could see them going 8-9, as you know, there's 17 games this next year. 8-9 to 7-10, I think, is going to be a fair guess for the Bengals. I do think they will finish 3rd. I'm not going to say who I think will be below them in their division, because I'm going to be covering that in a later video. But that is my guess as far as the Cincinnati Bengals go for their 2021 to 2022 NFL season. And guys, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and hit the subscribe button. I'll be going over every single team, so even if this wasn't your favorite team, I will be covering at some point, so be sure you're subscribed so you never miss any video, whether that's for real life football, Madden, any of that. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys for watching. Peace out.